Listen, I understand if you don't smoke weed or, you don't want the men all up in your house all hours of the night and they be kicking it. But where do you say, go and take that, you can have another house, furnished, with a bedroom? No. Take your ass in the backyard. Go turn the garage into a bar or something. I just saw something on Instagram. Her husband turned their garage into a bar. It looks like a real deal bar. And I know they ain't got no Wendy Williams money. So you could have definitely had his ass in the guest house. Y'all backyard ain't no little patio where you gonna be able to hear him still and smell the weed smoke. I mean, and back in the days, didn't niggas used to shoot dice outside on the corners and stuff? Like, hey y'all, I'm back. Welcome to my channel. It's your girl Prissy Solo, and today we are talking about the Wendy Williams biopic along with her documentary. I watched both of them last night, and I know some of y'all think like, where was I at? But honestly, I was really waiting on somebody to come forward. Like, look, you ain't told this, you ain't say this though, you ain't put this out though. So, it didn't happen. The only person that ended up coming forward today, the day after the biopic filmed, was Method Man's wife. Basically, she didn't have enough of Wendy having her husband in her mouth, which is totally understandable because Wendy, after watching the biopic and the documentary, you didn't even mention this, wham bam thank you ma'am with Method Man. So it would just occur to me that maybe it was best just to keep that married man's and use business alone, because it just didn't have anything to do with anything. But I guess she was promoting her movie, which she did not have to do because we was gonna watch anyways. Let's get on into the movie. So if y'all don't know, I stand for Wendy Williams. There are very, very few celebrities that I could say that I actually admire, but I would say Wendy is one of them. And after watching the movie, I still admire her very so much, because I feel like one thing that I took a couple things from the movie, but one thing that we're gonna have to give credit to Wendy for while she's here, give this woman her roses for being a hustler. She is a bona fide hustler, okay? A boss in the skirt, and I could appreciate it, especially now when you see how she got the ball rolling with a lot of stuff that we all do today, hence me right here in front of this camera, and just Paris Hilton, a lot of other YouTubers, radio personalities, Angela Yee, just different things that's going on today. I feel like after watching the biopic, you just realize that she was the one who got it started. So I'm not going to go by verbatim of the biopic because I'm going to assume that you watched it. So we just go kiki about it. So basically, a lot of the stuff I felt like we knew towards the end of the movie. So let's get into the things that were new in the beginning. So in the beginning of the movie, Wendy talks about being date raped by an R&B singer who had a hit at the time. I really, really wish she would have shared the person. I mean, just now in this movement these days, when oh my gosh, I watch a lot of crime shows. I'm a crime show fanatic. I'm want to get into law. So it's just kind of like crazy how many stories you guys hear of, or even just like watching Ilana Fix My Life, like how many people are actually sexually assaulted. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's almost like most people's stories at some point in their life, they didn't have some traumatic sexual abuse. Anyways, so that's kind of like what took place with her, except for it wasn't like raped. I think that with these new stories coming out, even with T.I. and Tiny, with sex trafficking being so high in Atlanta, I know I'm staring off a little bit, but I just want to put this out here. With sex trafficking being so high in Atlanta, and then you hear the story about T.I. and Tiny, it kind of brings awareness to you, like, wait, so it's not the person in a white van that's going to hop out and grab you and throw you in the back of the van and drive off. Like, sex trafficking, rape, all these things are happening in different forms that sometimes you don't even realize what just happened to you. Hence, her being pressured into sex. I don't feel like I've ever been date raped, but I definitely understood when I watched that how she must have felt in that moment, in terms of you're not comfortable, you don't want to go through with this, you're not doing it, but they're not taking no for an answer and they're being super persistent. and you're in a situation where this man's on top of you and this is not really what you want at all. Hence why it's called date rape opposed to just rape by itself. Now, I think a lot of women don't speak up about certain things because you feel stupid. You feel like in Wendy's case, you feel like I shouldn't have went back with him in the first place. How could I be so dumb to believe that he had to stop and change clothes? I should have waited in the car. I should have met him at the party. Things like that must have transpired, but I just don't understand after all this time why she doesn't feel the need to have to say his name and put him out there. But then again, I mean, she's Wendy Williams, so she said that he was a one-hit wonder, so she probably feels like he would benefit in a good way from being tied to her. She probably don't want him even tied to her. I need to put some lotion on my hands. I just finished showering. They're pretty ashy. Yeah, I be getting eczema on my fingers and stuff. Okay. Anyways, so let's move on. So she goes on about having a relationship with Eric B. and was it Eric B? The one that took her car and and messed up her credit. She said by the time that man left her, she was a sucker for him. I think that good deed to women, we fall in lust, and it just tends for us to do stupid shit, like hence let a nigga drive your car. Don't be that girl, because let me tell you something. When a man takes your car, the first place that he is going is to go slide to go see another bitch, just in case you didn't know. In case you're thinking, oh, he needs the car because he's there with the... No, baby, you need your car. That's why it's your car. Anyways, she was also went on to talk about her weight journey and how her family made her feel very ashamed about her weight. I always, being a Wendy fan, I've heard this story and stuff before, and I knew that was something that she struggled with, and her parents played a benefactor in it. And I hope that with her mom being gone now, that she realizes, you know, hey, it might have made you very insecure, but you got to forgive to be able to forgive yourself and move on, because that's probably why she ran to drugs in the first place, just not feeling good enough, being the only black girl. And listen, black people, we all want the best for our children, right? So we always give them what we didn't have, right? But in the situation where you put your children in like private schools, or you move them to these upscale neighborhoods, and then they're around peers that don't look like them, I need y'all to understand how much that plays a factor. Even in public schools today, with Black History Month, they don't teach your children about self-love, especially black children. Especially black children. It's almost as if the agenda is to create self-hate. Allegedly. But, you know. Anyways, so that played a benefactor for her. It's just crazy to watch the movie and then to now know that her mom is gone, you know. Parents, don't we wish they could be with us here forever. Anyways, so she went from radio station to radio station. I'm glad that she showcased being almost like bullied by her bosses, because I feel like when it comes to females working with each other, it is always this weird, you know, tension with somebody. You might get along with the front desk girl, but then your boss is a B. Like, I don't know, but it was weird seeing Wendy in that light of being that shy girl. Hence, the actress name, I didn't write no notes. This is off the top of the dome. The actress that played Wendy did a phenomenal job. Let's just say that. She did a great job. I think the wigs were on point. They did a really good job. I do feel like the movie seemed rushed in a sense, because it just seemed like it was moving really fast. Like, I felt like there was more that we could have learned that we didn't know already. Like, I knew about her finding out about Kevin first cheating after she had her baby boy. I knew about having miscarriages prior to that, but what I did not know, which was actually it really made me feel some kind of way, was when she had to push out on her third. So she had a 7-week miscarriage, and then she had 2 5-month miscarriages before she had her baby, or did she have 2, 1 7-week and 1 5-month? But at one point, she ended up having this 5-month miscarriage. 5 months. Let me tell you something. Usually they say like the weeks that you don't tell people about your pregnancy, which is an old folks tale, that people say don't tell people about your pregnancy because of the fear of losing your baby, had already passed. That's usually between the first 2 months or so. After the third month, you already passed your first trimester. So really, past the 3 month mark, you feel like you're in the clear because you're now in your second trimester. 5 months mark is only a month shy of being done with your second trimester, moving on to your third. So that is like it's still a small baby. You don't want to have your baby at 5 months, but it's more than just a little, little embryo at that point. And she had to push out the baby. I was in here hollering. I said, "No, ma'am. No, there's no way that there's no way. They would have to have cut me open. Y'all would have to have put me to sleep, and y'all had to cut me open. So I'm not about to push out a child that I've waited on at 5 months, stillborn. You know it. You know your child's dead, and you have to push him out. That had to be really hard. One thing I had kind of skimmed past because I told you I wasn't going in order was that Wendy had a drug abuse problem, which she also had been open and shared with us. I felt like it was shortened. It showed like her like, it showed her like, okay, this was what she did. That's what she was into. And we knew that. I mean, back then, I believe everybody just snorted the line back then in the 80s. But hey, none of my business. Or early 90s. What are we talking about? Early 90s? Yeah, early 90s. Early 2000s, Anyways, but she was saying like, how bad it had got on the documentary. They didn't show this in the movie. In the documentary, she said that she had did it when she used to work for, what is it, Kiss, that film or whatever, 90-something, 94.1, I'm not sure. 94.1 is where I'm from. That's the radio station back home. I'm tripping. I can't remember. I'm not about to remember radio stations, especially ones that she didn't even stick with. But she was in the bathroom doing a line while she at work, and she ended up falling out. And when she fell out from the drugs, she ended up hitting her head. And when she hit her head, she went unconscious, and she woke up by herself. And she was saying that was like a scary moment for her because she could have died and nobody would have even known. Or imagine if she didn't die, and then her peers came in, co-workers and stuff, and she drugged out off that coke. That was wild. I wish we could have got a little bit more into how she actually stopped doing drugs, because it made it seem as if she met Kevin and Kevin got her off. And I think that in the documentary and some point in the movie that Wendy, although was being honest about her relationship with Kevin, she also felt like because of her son that she wasn't going to go, she was going high, she wasn't going low. And listen, when you're truly over somebody, you don't feel the need to have to bash them and talk bad or negative anyways, but telling your truth is telling the truth. At some point she said that in her documentary that Kevin never beat her, never touched her, never hit her. And I remember back in the day there used to be rumors about her having soundproof rooms, about him beating on her, and that it would happen at the radio station. So I just wish, at her show, there was only one incident that they showed in the movie that showed any type of like conflict with Kevin. It was at some point where he like came in there late, and they had started the meeting, and he flipped out, like flipped the table and stuff, and like caused a scene at her job. I felt like that was very minimal because you just heard so many stories. I even remember years ago reading one about sexual assault claims being filed against him from interns. But I guess she felt like, why talk about all the other small cheating situations he had when you got this big one that would end up being the one that he ended up getting pregnant and being with now. So I guess she figured all the other ones didn't matter. Speaking of didn't matter, it got to a point where she was really suspicious about her husband, and she hired a PI, and she had like proof of this man having a home around the corner, 7 miles away from their home. 7 miles away from their home. And talk about convenience. Like, you don't even want to put no effort into cheating. You want to just be able to just anyways, so she actually goes to the house. This was actually a part that had me busting up laughing. Besides the part when Toto came up to her job, because we also knew that. But the part with Toto coming up to the job, y'all could have did better when y'all had her, oh, Kevin, oh, and like, oh, I got you, baby, I got you. Like, I don't know, something about that just had me in tears. It was whack as hell. But that's the only part I have to complain about the Lifetime movie. Other than that, Lifetime, y'all did a phenomenal job. You could tell that Wendy actually had talked to the actress because the actress, either she just that good or Wendy and her had some, coaching, because she played the hell out of Wendy. Anyways, she goes to the side chick's house. Actually, technically, I guess her house, since she's married to him, that her husband was sharing with the side chick. And she was like having a meltdown, and she got to a point where she ended up spray painting the garage, Kevin and Wendy forever. She ended up gluing the the mailbox shut, which is so smart because I don't even think I would have thought like that. And she didn't. She just left. She just ended up leaving, and she knew about the affair. And this is after she had already told Kevin he was going to lose her because she had heard him cheating on her before, right after they had a son. So this is way after, and I guess around the time we had heard, I guess she heard about it before we heard about it, and she was okay with it. And I say okay in the terms of not okay, like, oh, go ahead, do what you do, we got an open relationship. Like, okay with it in terms of, like, I'm going to act like I don't know because we have so much on the line. Like, they tried so hard to have a family. They got a family. She wants to make it work. You know, he's I think her manager. This is why you don't, women, please stop making your husbands be managers of y'all. Y'all have to start separating your marriages from business. I don't know why y'all work with each other. I don't know why you have your husband be a manager. Like, that's just a no-no. Just, you don't do that. Don't do that. Because they never work out. Look at Mary J. Blige. Look at Wendy. It never works out. Just don't do that. So anyways, like, your husband, that needs to be separate. He has a whole other role. Because what happens is they end up slacking somewhere. And it seemed like he ended up slacking in every area, but it started with the husband role, and that's your most important role. Okay. Anyways, so the house, she finds out, she goes on about her business. She's finding out about trips. She got a PI. She's seeing this man drive. Basically, this woman is living the high life off of Wendy's expense. Now, it made it seem like as if she just was drinking and didn't show drug abuse. Hey, whatever. You know, that's your story. I'm going to let you tell it. But it was crazy to me because she was saying at first that when she was talking to one of Kevin's boys, like, at first it was like, okay, she's thinking, okay, he got another place, another condo that he goes to go smoke. He goes to go hang out with the boys all hours of the night and stuff because she didn't want that stuff happening at her house because she got a brand new baby. So she kind of like, go take that somewhere else. Hold on. Flag on the play. Listen, I understand if you don't smoke weed or, you know, you don't want the men all up in your house all hours of the night and they be kicking it. But where do you say, go and take that, you can have another house furnished with a bedroom? No. Take your ass in the backyard. Go turn the garage into a bar or something. I just saw something on Instagram. Her husband turned their garage into a bar. It looks like a real deal bar. And I know they ain't got no Wendy Williams money. So you could have definitely had his ass in the guest house. Y'all backyard ain't no little patio where you gonna be able to hear him still and smell the weed smoke. I mean, and back in the days, didn't niggas used to shoot dice outside on the corners and stuff? Like, not in their own condos. Not a married man. Hell to the motherfucking no. Hell no. And she said that she popped up. She never used to go. And she popped up in the documentary. This wasn't in the movie. So she popped up, which we should have seen in the movie. And that she found like condom wrappers. No. She found a Rolex watch that he tried to lie and say was for her. And then she pulled the covers back and seen like used panties that wasn't hers. See, we needed to see some type of interaction, even if it was like some type of interaction where you went upside this man's head. Not know, you know, I mean, love is blind and it'll take over your mind. That's what Eve said. Eve was trying to warn us a long time ago. You think it's love when it's really not. You need to elevate and find love is blind. Okay? Because if you don't come through this door by a certain time, I'm locking your ass out. And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. You don't come home at a certain hour, the locks are changed, sir. You're gonna have to go back where you just came from. But she was just drowning in her pain, you know. Strumming my pain with his feet. I'm gonna have to turn on some music out on after this because Wendy got me ready to, child. Anyways, so she lives with it. I can't remember how many years she goes on and just is okay with you know, not leaving at this point for whatever reason. Maybe I think a lot of times she said that she wanted her son to go off to college. Um, before what really had brought her to a standstill was, of course, what we all know is when he got his side chick pregnant. The girl, as Wendy calls her, she got her pregnant, and this is the part in the movie that really threw me. This is the part in the movie that really had me pissed off, like as if Wendy was one of my homegirls. When he checked her into a mental hospital, and the staff of the mental hospital was really treating Wendy like she was like a mentally ill patient that could not think for herself. She literally had to go to and from the studio only. She couldn't make no stops anywhere. Okay, she wasn't allowed to have a phone. She was just isolated basically, and she couldn't even be in her own home. She had to go live in the sober house. And on her show, was still watching the Wendy Williams show at this time. I had stopped because just not no in particular reason. It's just, you know, when you kind of do something for so long, you just kind of take a break from it. Like I was dead ass watching Wendy Williams 5 days a week, so I had to take a break. But at this time, I was watching, and she had made it seem like it was her choice, you know. But in the movie, it's like Kevin checked her in, and they didn't say this in the movie. But you can't tell me that Kevin Hunter did not check his wife into a mental facility so that he could go parade around with his pregnant side chick and have the baby in peace. Because you mean to tell me you just was so concerned about her health just around the time that your side chick was having a baby, and that the place that you happened to check her in at, she wasn't allowed any access to television, her cell phone, news. No, that's not no coincidence, Wendy. That man put you in that facility so that he can have his other baby without having to worry about you, without you knowing. He needed to be in the clear. And I thought that was fucked up. And I was telling my best friend this yesterday because she was like, how was he able to, like she had no rights. And I was saying, when you're married, you have a say-so over your significant other. So if, let's say, you get on life support, or in Wendy's case, it wasn't that serious, but you've talked about drug abuse. If you could prove that this person is insane, cannot make the decisions for themselves, yeah, your husband can check you into a mental facility against your will, same as your parents. If they can prove that, you know, you have hey, she has a history of XYZ, they could basically write your life off. They could make those type of decisions. And it was pissing me off. It was really pissing me off how they were treating that woman, because Kevin was the reason why she was losing her mind. If she needed mental help, it was because of him. If she was on the verge of a breakdown or breaking down, it was because of him. So for him to be able to dictate that, it was just so wrong. It was so wrong. Also, Wendy decided not to talk about her kids. It's so funny to me because I saw a Facebook post the other day where a guy was saying like how he thinks that women ain't shit when they don't post their children at all, but they got all these photos of themselves. And I'm like, no, that's exactly what with Wendy. Like, I'm Prissy Solo. She's Wendy Williams. You know I'm a mother. I'm not hiding the fact that I'm a mother, but my motherfucking kids is off limits. And that's just on Mary Had a Little Lamb, okay? That's just that on that. And I respected that. I think that she does a lot to protect her child, and including sparing some details, okay? Seems like she spared a little bit of details. But I did enjoy the biopic. I enjoyed the documentary. I don't want to get another interview. I don't want to see nothing else because I feel like I done watched enough of Wendy for a little bit. But it was definitely up to par. I didn't feel disappointed. Now, there is another thing that I want to talk about that I personally feel like I learned from Wendy Williams leaving this. Besides, go after your dreams, keep pushing, don't stop, can't stop. You know, when one door closes, you just knock on another. You know what's so funny? Back in the day, you always hear about stories of people sitting in the lobby of these like entertainment industry buildings, you know, waiting for their big shot. I remember hearing that about Kanye West doing that. I heard about a lot of times. And then Wendy Williams did the same thing. And granted, how the internet has changed to where you don't have to sit in the lobby waiting on giving your mixtape to, you know, an A&R, or, you know, vice versa in Wendy's case, you know. But nowadays, I feel like that would be much more effective than now when you try to get your big break and you sending over your music, or you're trying to get discovered off YouTube. Because I mean, who done really made it big from YouTube besides Justin Bieber like 15 years ago? Um, it's just not the same anymore. It became a big thing, like a step up from having to wait in the lobby, but it just doesn't seem like, and don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of opportunities for people with big platforms on social media. It just seems like everything gets a little bit played out after a while, and it's just kind of like, you know, it just don't work the same, you know. So anyways, what I learned from Wendy Williams, let's get to that because I'm ready to end this video. What I took from Wendy Williams in her story, and she didn't say this was a regret of hers. It's just something, just being a middle child, you just learn from other people watching. I learned to not stay in a situation too long. I feel like Wendy's biggest mistake was not meeting Kevin. I don't think her biggest mistake was not leaving the first time that he cheated. I think that Wendy's biggest mistake was staying in that marriage way too long. And I just learned from that. I was just like, you know what? If something does not serve you anymore, if something does not make you happy, if it comes to a point that it is now draining and it was once fulfilling, do not be afraid to walk away. I think a lot of times us women are afraid of being alone, that you stay in these unhealthy relationships so long, you give the best years of your life, and now look at her, like, that man broke her heart, and it's so late now. And I'm not saying it's too late to find love, but I just feel like with her experiences and with her, like, you know, now you're kind of like broken to where you're not open to it, and then now you're Wendy Williams, and it's just kind of even harder to kind of dictate who's in it for real. And I'm not saying like it's too late to find love, because my mother actually told me that she found her soulmate, and my mom is very well, so got grown children, okay? And so I don't feel like, you know, it's too late, but I mean, you could have been zipping and zooing it 20. Let's look at, she promotes now how fun it is to, you know, be Wendy and live for Wendy and date and, you know, be out on the scene. But it would have been much more fun 20 years ago. You know, at one point in the documentary, I think it was her sister that said, said that she had to fly. It was her first time flying alone. I said, that is sad as fuck. Because at my age, I know how many times, I know during that time, having that companion was all of that. Having your best friend and as your husband, and doing everything with you. Don't have to do anything alone. But you gave him so much power that when those nights turned into him not coming home, you were just okay with it, the better than not having anybody at all. And it's just like, you could have been zipping and zooing it and living your best life 20 years ago. And I was just like, you know what? Don't let that be you. So if you are a young gal like myself, don't let that be you. Okay? Okay? And if you try to lose some weight, don't go snorting no coke now to lose no weight. Go ahead and pay for the lipo like she did. Go ahead and go to the plastic surgeon, do what you got to do, or go to the gym. But we ain't snorting coke to be slim in the waist. Okay. Now that's all I have to say about the Wendy biopic and documentary. Comment down below and let me know what your guys' thoughts on the whole documentary. You guys, what was the most surprising thing about the whole documentary? You know, was there any point that made you cry or made you fall more in like with Wendy? Like, let me know what you guys thought. And until next time.